Hello again, people of New World. I'm still alive, I promise. It's been a while since I made a video, but here we are. Happy Tuesday. And hopefully by now, a lot of you hardcore gamers know that the March update, or the end of March update, I guess you could call it the April update if you really wanted to, is here. So what am I going to do for you today? I'm going to cover all the big points in the March update patch notes just to catch any of you up, give you a little summary of what we should expect with this new patch, and I'm going to tell you what you should be doing on day one so that you can succeed, get ahead of the pack, and do the things that you want to do so that you can be a successful New World gamer. Now, before we get started, I do want to apologize. It's been a little spotty with videos. I've been super busy. Hope all of you understand. I'll have a lot of content this week. We'll have this PvP healing guide, some stuff on the new expedition, fun stuff, and maybe Dan will finally do a little podcast with me. But regardless, content's coming. As always, if you want to connect with me, feel free to DM me on Discord. That's where I'm most responsive. Drop a comment, comment, subscribe, ring that bell, tell everybody you know. I'd really appreciate it. And if you want to support me directly, feel free to hit up my Patreon, do early content releases, just another way of supporting me over there. Anyway, it's finally here. Blunderbuss, new expedition, a lot of quality of life. The first step of the roadmap. We are on the path to success with New World. So let's get into it. Let's cover everything you should see. And then again, I'll give you everything that I think is going to be important come day one. All right, so I've gone through these patch notes. I'll give you everything I think is important. What's coming? First thing, new main storyline stuff. You're finishing up the main story quest, and we're getting in the Tempest Heart new expedition with Isabella. If you haven't watched, there's a new cinematic. If you're curious on lore stuff, there are some juicy drops in here. If you haven't, there's tons of videos on all the legendary drops, but there's some really, really solid drops here. This will be a new endgame dungeon, harder than Laz and Jen. Actual good mechanics in there, it's looking like, and I'll be doing mine first live on stream on Wednesday, so I'll be running that with Dan, and we'll be going through, make a little video on it. It'll be exciting. But again, juicy drops, new content. This will be a mutator in the future. I'm really excited. New expedition. This is our first new expedition in the game. So everybody get hyped for that. But what else? The biggest thing I think coming out of it is the Blunderbuss, new weapon. It's going to bring us a whole new meta, I am sure. There's plenty of Blunderbuss builds that we have seen on the PTR that are one-shot Blunderbuss with Sword and Shield. AoE grenade launcher Zerg Blunderbuss with Gravwells. We've seen everything under the sun, and the meta will start to uncover itself in the coming weeks. Get excited for it. There's some really cool tech in it. It is a interesting mix of bruiser and mage, so it can fit into a lot of builds and complement a lot of builds. It could also be its main build, right? This is a very easy weapon to reload and use really quick. So it's not like the musket, it's a gun that you could probably main and actually use full time. So, there's some PvE potential there. But regardless, we'll have a new legendary quest for it. 2 trees, 1 more explosive AoE, 1 more for the bruiser to get up in the face. Really solid close to mid-range damage gun. You can just walk up and shotgun shot him in the face. So really excited for that, but be ready for some new meta gameplay, and everybody and their mother to be leveling it up. What else do we have then throughout the patch? Those are pretty much the bulk of what you'll be seeing. But as far as the world experience, there's going to be paintings. There's paintings you can get in each zone that you can put in your house. And then we're going to have new boss spawns. And there's going to be some like roadside encounters and all kinds of stuff to kind of oomph the player experience, both when you're leveling and at endgame. So all of these, like Rafflebone, Stinky the Hunter, the Forgotten Yeti, these are going to be boss spawns that can just be randomly up in these zones. They're going to have them starting at like level 30, and there's going to be some solid loot there. The biggest one you should be concerned about as a level 60 is Rafflebones. There's a chance to get Umbral Shards, some solid gear, Obsidian Gypsum, stuff like that, but you'll have 45 seconds to kill him, and he'll give you some named weapons. It's just interesting, right? Gives the world some more breath. Like I was saying, roadside encounters, not exactly sure what that means. Unbound Island for level 30s. And basically what they're doing here is each of these is just in each zone there will be something, and it's just going to make your leveling experience more interesting. More open world stuff here. Storage chests. Chests that used to provide 200 weight now provide 400 weight. All of the chests are increasing. So a lot of these chests are going to be better to help with our storage needs. As far as storage goes, other things that are happening, you no longer have to be in that faction to send storage items from one zone to another, so you can get them all over the place. There's better descriptions on trophies. Other things, durability loss. You no longer lose durability on items that are not equipped, but the territory storage one is probably the biggest from this section. There's also some player-to-player collision stuff when you were running into each other, doing things open world, like in the chest zergs. They're getting rid of that, so it's going to be a little bit better. As far as expeditions go, they're making it so only one person has to be at the entrance. That's it, and then you can start it, so that's really exciting. As far as bugs, you can read through those if you want. Nothing too crazy. You'll notice them as you play. As far as quests go, they're making the main story quest some more soloable options so that you don't have to get pigeonholed into doing expeditions or some of those real late end game main story quests that require multiple people. New faction missions, legendary blunderbuss weapon, like I was saying. The starting beaches are changing so that you can actually pick a weapon that you want to use. And then you're adding in gypsum as rewards for any of the Shattered Mountain, Reekwater, and Ebon Scale quests that you haven't done yet. So that's some really exciting stuff there to help you kind of get up to par. It's an interesting little catch-up mechanic that they added. Wish they would have added it in earlier, but I think this is still a solid start for those people who are trying to get up to par. Then yeah, just random fixes here and there. And then as we get into combat, not much is changing on the combat end. It's mainly AI targeting, so nothing too crazy. And then they're talking about all the mobs and the things they actually changed with them. So just some updates there. And then some expedition AI things, and we'll keep going through. One thing to note here is that mutators and mutated AI, the difficulty of elite named AI has been tuned down. So a lot of the difficulty in mutators, whether it's last gen or dynasty, comes from like the gold bordered mobs that aren't actually bosses. So they're actually making those easier, and they're tuning bosses up. Okay, so that'll be nice. It'll be kind of how you would expect an expedition to be. So get excited for that. General combat changes. Road speed buff is now applied to all players using emotes that allow movement. So that, you can go gallop around. I think that's probably the most exciting piece of this. Just joking. We have an ammo update. So there's no longer a flint arrow, or I think there's still a bullet, but there's a T1 version that is just infinite for guns, right? Then you can go up to iron in a gun. As far as arrows go, you have infinite flint arrows, and then you can move up to iron. So that T1 ammo is no longer a thing. You'll just have infinite ammo baseline, which will be really nice if you're trying to level your weapons. So I'm super stoked for that. Ammo weight has also been removed. So that is another thing that was just weighing down in your bags that you can now keep. And weapon updates, a lot of these are just going to be fixed issues. The one thing that actually did get some solid changes and some solid buffs is actually the fire staff, and it applies mainly to their burning dot. So they're going to have an increased damage tick rate, but they're going to decrease the number of stacks, and they're going to increase the number of damage. So they're essentially making it so it's only 5 stacks, but they're doubling the damage and it's ticking faster. I would say that's a buff in my opinion. But other than that, the majority of these are just bug fixes. Now they're not saying anything about Gravwell. They're not saying anything about Ice Shower, for those of you who watch me and are curious. But just mainly bug fixes, trying to get the game flowing a little bit more, making it a little bit nicer. That's pretty much it. It's nothing game changing. The only thing actually getting some sort of balancing update is the fire staff. Otherwise, everything else is just like fixing animation, fixing an issue, fixing something there. But that's it for weapons. So again, the biggest thing coming from weapons is just that the blunderbuss is coming. Some new items here to add in some extra perks. There's new perks coming, so we'll cover that in a later video. Also changing some of the duration buffs, like bloodletting burning. They're making them so they actually function a little bit better. Right now, like burning is only 5 to 15%, goes to 10 to 30. I believe there's more than just bloodletting and burning, but there could be some more. Otherwise, general combat changes. Not too much in the combat end of things. We talked about this in our dev update, but it's mainly just blunderbuss coming. As far as game mode updates, I think the most exciting thing to come from this is we can queue for wars and OPRs from our map and invasions. So all 3 of those things we can now just be out in the world and go and queue up right away. So that is exciting. Some big changes actually to elite boss arenas, wars, and invasions. You'll see the quantity and quality of rewards from reward caches, from the arenas, from wars, and from invasions are all going to increase, meaning we're going to get some solid items. So I have about like 10 war boxes sitting in a storage shed because I said save these. So make sure, if you haven't, you're just seeing this video tomorrow, that if you have any, wait until after the patch to get them out. Otherwise, the only other things that are really changing here, you do get umbral shards now from elite boss arenas, which I think is a really solid change. They're super fast, some quick umbrals, nice. War is a big one. War meta on defense will be changing a bit. You can no longer respawn on points A, B, or C as defense. So be ready for that if you have any wars tomorrow. You won't be able to respawn like you normally will, so you can't play as aggressive unless you're really, really up. Big Outpost Rush changes. Remove the downstate from Outpost Rush. We've been asking this for a while. I'm very excited for that. Now you won't get those clutch revives sometimes, but it still works. Credit for killing a player now goes to the player who kills an enemy instead of the player who puts them into death's door. So whoever gets that last hit now gets the player kill. It's not whoever gets them when they're red skulled. Other than that, you get some credit from contesting points now, so you can actually go after them instead of just trying to kill people. And that is about it there. Biggest thing is that in Outpost Rush, whoever you actually last hit, they will now die. As far as economy, you get half of the original purchase cost from abandoning a house, and then just some crafting changes, adding in some into the new perks. Buttercream pudding is being corrected. Elite tuning orbs for arenas, they now require 3 runestones instead of 5, so a little bit of a nerf, or I guess a technical buff, right, so that you can actually craft more and craft them easier. Big things in the reward section that I don't think people realize. There's now a way to get diamond gypsum from mining, logging, and harvesting. So sometimes when you're doing any of these, you can uncover a hidden stash. Inside there's motes, coins, and diamond gypsum. So now you don't only have to farm, the elemental mote spawns. There could potentially be some solid motes from doing this thing. I will be looking into that to see if it's maybe worth, just run around and pick flowers, and maybe you can grind motes out that way. So I think that is a low-key thing that not a lot of people realize, and I'm excited to check that out. Otherwise, general loot changes, they're fixing things like the extra 5 stat on Keeper's Pendant and Shard. Nothing too crazy there. UI and quality of life improvements. Updated some icons just so they're, things function a little bit better. I think the biggest thing that we're going to be getting out of this is that, and I'm not really exactly seeing it here. Oh, I'm seeing it down here. These are all just fixed issues, right? Fixed issues, making things a little bit more visible on main story quests. But here was the biggest thing I was going to talk about. This is in the combat section, but inventory while moving. So everybody's wanted this while you're auto running. Open up your inventory really quick, check it, switch some items. Super excited for that. They're adding in a new in-combat system. So this is going to make it so that when you're in combat, you now have a cross sword buff that no longer lets you swap gear sets, and you have to wait until you're out of combat in order to do so. But once you're out of combat, they added in a healing system, which I think a lot of people have been looking forward to. 40 health per second. I think that's a solid regen rate. We also get an increased mana regen rate and food buff healing effectiveness increased. I think these are all good. When you're solo questing, you're not a healer build. If you're just out in the world doing things, I'm not sure if you'll be able to kind of finesse this when you're in a war, and if you're out of combat in a war and get some free regen, which could be interesting. Not really sure. We'll have to see how that plays into the meta and if that's a good thing or a bad thing. But I think out of combat healing is something a lot of people have been asking for. Otherwise, here's some of those weapon fixes we were talking about, just fixing perks, fixing some functionality with weapons. There's also something that they're doing in, elite POIs. So when you're going to those places where you're doing chest runs, you do have chances to grind arena tuning orbs. Could there be potential for grinding a bunch of orbs, then just running them? You get the better little chests now. We'll have to see what actually comes out of the chests, and you get some umbral shards. Stay tuned on that as well. Other than that, quests, daily faction mission token rewards have been increased by 5%. So, go do your dailies every day. I think a lot of people don't do these enough. Do them so you can buy the things and get faction tokens way easier. Other than that, there's some crafting changes just to make things different qualities, fixed issues, resolving issues, and then we talk about Isabella's expedition loot. There's some really solid loot in Heart. I'll talk about that, maybe make a video, but there's some other ones out there. If you're interested, I'm just going section by section, talking about everything that I've seen so that you don't have to sit here and read all of this and you can listen to me talk about it. Again, we talked about this, invasions and wars from the map, UI, all that kind of stuff. Big changes, exciting things coming. I think as far as making the game more fluid, we're fixing bugs, we're adding a new expedition, new weapons, always nice, and just making the game feel better. Reducing player friction is the biggest thing that is going to come out of this. So if I were you, what would I be doing tomorrow right away? 1, I would make sure that I use my daily cooldown mats, maybe crafting a blunderbuss. Get a blunderbuss ready so that you can either 1, level it up, or 2, people will be buying blunderbusses like hotcakes, right? Especially if you can proc some of the new perks. So if you can, craft a bunch of gear, pray for those perks, craft a bunch of blunderbusses, pray for those perks, get ready. 2, go start your main story quest so that you can actually get into the expedition right away. You'll probably get a free tuning orb. And if you want, I'm sure you can go buy one from the faction vendor. Speaking of that, 3, do your daily cooldowns, but know that everything is on a daily and weekly reset now on Tuesday, 5 a.m. So Tuesday at 5 a.m. is the weekly, 5 a.m. is the daily. So now don't worry about it. At any point, you can do your daily cooldowns, and they will always reset at the same time, so you don't have to worry about, maybe you're watching this video at midnight. You don't have to worry now. Just craft them. You'll be able to craft them in just a couple hours, okay? Those are the big things I would suggest doing right away. And then, let's look into some of this other stuff. Here's what I'm going to recommend to all of you if you're like, what should I try and finesse to try and figure out how to maybe make some money too with the patch? dig into some of those. When you're harvesting, logging, and mining, you get moats and you get other things. Look at some of that. The other one I would say is look at the arena tuning orb drop chance. Maybe there's a ton of gold that drops out of those new chests. I'm not sure. I haven't seen one. I haven't tested one, so I'm not 100% sure. But maybe there's some sweet gear. Regardless, I would check out those new farms that maybe could yield some really, really, really nice results. That's everything I would say. Get excited for this patch. I know it's the end of the month, just like the last one, but at least it is new content. I think that's the biggest thing. Next month will be some bug fixes, maybe a new system or something like that. But after that, people, we will have the arenas coming. So keep the hype up, keep grinding, and keeping on. All right, I don't know what to say there, but keep grinding, New World. I love the game. I love the direction it's heading. Keep trying to have fun and grind with some people, make a community, and make some friends. Keep playing, though. As always, thank you for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Please keep doing that weird YouTube stuff. Like, comment, subscribe, ring the bell, tell everybody you know. Hopefully this kind of summarized what's all coming in March, what to look forward to. But as always, you can hit me up on Discord, Twitch, Twitter, TikTok. Patreon if you want to support me directly. I'll be streaming the new expedition when I stream Monday, Wednesday, Friday. About 11 a.m. Central Time is when I've been starting recently. And hopefully you can catch me there. But until then, leave me a DM if you need something. But as always, please, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And thank you all for being you. Peace.